the era of sustainable energy, in the era of recycling things, in the era of just looking for a way to help our environment and do the best we can to even make money in the process, we need to start having very serious conversations about things we naturally look away from. Things like converting waste to things that are resourceful and all of the things in between as far as that conversion is concerned. I'm deliberately using the word conversion for a general frame of reference, but the person who is going to break it down for us is right here with us. Omolade Ogundimo is the CEO. Mostudeo, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, Mostudeo. Nice to meet you. Good morning. My name is
Good morning. You know, I spoke plenty grammar, so you help me break down that grammar as to what it is that you do in terms of what is regarded as sustainable craftsmanship.
Right. So I'm actually an artist and designer. I'm a furniture designer, so I studied interior design. I actually studied law before I pivoted into interior design and arts. And so for the last couple of years, I've been working on a process on how to work on waste wood board and reclaimed wood. I noticed that there have been a lot of waste wood when you have old cabinetry, old wardrobes that are just lying around the road, lying at the back of your house. Where do they go? What do we do with them? And so I was trying to come up with a formula that was not only globally understood, but also aesthetically pleasing at the same time. And so pivoting away from what I do, which is fiber art and textile art, I decided to explore furniture design. And in that case, I wanted to see what can we do with that wood? What can we do with that waste? And how can we transform it? And so I decided to go to the past. So a lot of my inspiration was taken from old buildings. You have a lot of mosaic tile inspiration from old architecture. You're thinking Lagos Island, you're thinking old buildings in Surulere. A lot of those architecture, a lot of the things we enjoyed had a lot of personality. And I said, how can we bring that design back? How can we bring it back to what we have today? And I wanted to encapsulate the memories of that, but still preserve the life of these waste wood. I mean, as we all know, there is almost 13,000 tons of waste generated in Lagos today.
About 15,000 actually.
Even now more.
Yeah.
And by 2050, I don't know where we would be, unfortunately. So the next question now becomes, what do we do with these things? And they are not biodegradable. So where do they go? How can we transform them? And so this is my own little contribution to that quota. How can I change the narrative? How can I still do what I want to do, but, you know, reduce our carbon footprint at the end of the day?
And so
you're changing the world, literally.
Yeah, they're beautiful and they come with a lot of aesthetics.
Yes.
No, but beyond the use of these, you know, for decorations, exhibitions, what is the usability factor for a household of these items?
So the furniture, for example, those are actually furniture pieces. They are coffee tables, side tables that you can use. They have long durability time. So there is, in terms of like usability there. And then in terms of the rugs that we started manufacturing, which was a process I learned by myself actually online. And I learned that after shortly coming out of school, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. But I came up with a formula that required me using locally produced yarn, which is Yeye Yarn Nigeria. And the durability is actually quite impressive. I've had rugs that I've made almost 4 years ago that still somehow stand the test of time, and they've been made locally as well. So in terms of functionality, usability, it's not just an aesthetic, it's actually a functional piece of furniture.
So those are the rugs that we saw there.
Yes.
Some people express concerns about rugs that they gather dust and they're not particularly good for respiratory functions for certain individuals who have limitations in that regard. What is the adaptability value of some of the things that you do, like the rugs? So
like the rugs, for example, so they come in different forms. You can use them for anything. These are just the fiber artworks that are on the wall. We also have the ones that are for the flooring. So you have, you know, brand logos. We've worked with a number of brands in Nigeria as well, manufacturing rugs for them, for their offices, for their companies, for their showrooms, and things like that. So it's not just about something looking pretty somewhere packing dust, and they're also quite easy to maintain at the end of the day.
So I'd like you to talk about the affordability as well.
Right.
Because art, if it's art, then it shouldn't be cheap, right? If it's creative, it shouldn't be cheap, but it should also be affordable, right? Because trying to make life easy.
This on your like.
I mean, on the conversation of affordability, right, that one is definitely debatable, especially because we're talking slow production, we're talking craftsmanship, we're talking locally made items that we're trying to meet that industry standard, we're trying to meet that Western standard, and it's going to cost money. The production alone alone is quite high. So the markup price of what we are retailing at is also relatively high. But then again, it's a small price to pay for supporting the Nigerian ecosystem. Personally, I believe that our economic revolution is very much dependent on our arts and culture. So why don't we invest in that?
So you're one of those who should increase your tax to 25%, right?
I mean,
the way you're sounding like, but it's not an all-commerce thing, right?
No, so it's not all commerce, right? But at the end of the day, it's really about building into what we already have. How much are we even spending importing? I know how much people spend to import. So what would it take you putting in that same energy in Nigerian-made products?
I think you have a really valid argument. It's you're sort of coming through the emotional angle, and you make it nationalistic, then you also say, hey, it's handcrafted. But speak to us about your creative process.
Right.
I see some of the things you do. I'm not sure you're Gen Z or Gen Alpha.
Let's remain ambiguous.
Or Boomer, definitely not Boomer. But the point is, some of the things you're creating definitely may not have been something you grew up or something in your generation, really.
Right.
So you're probably tapping into the past, as you said.
Yes.
So what's your creative process like?
Right.
Give us a time frame, and then some of the fears, some of the challenges you face.
Right. So in terms of my creative process, I do a lot of field study. So I do a lot of sightseeing, I do a lot of visits, I visit locations often, I take inspiration. And growing up, surprisingly, my family and I used to go to Cotonou a lot every year. And that was also another thing where I saw how they were doing the architecture. I came back to Nigeria, I saw they were doing the architecture. And I think it's sad how we've moved away from having design that was very much character-filled to like the mundane, minimalist, white, gray, bland aesthetic.
They'll come for you.
They'll come for me. I know. I'm sorry, but we still have to pay homage back to the past at the end of the day. But my creative process basically starts from a lot of field study, lots of observation, and I do a lot of research at the end of the day, because in as much as art is aesthetically pleasing, you need to be knowledgeable about what it is you're trying to talk about through your work.
So, just because you want to buy.
But I want to buy before I say something.
I told Bukola something. I said, that's why I was processing Bukola. I told her that anything I want to buy that I like, that is too expensive for my paycheck, it's not the will of God. So I don't know whether yours is the will of God for my life.
No, I'm definitely sure it is the will of God.
Talk to us.
There you go, salesperson. Right there.
I saw a couple of young people. I don't know whether you work with young people. For instance, someone wants to learn this from you, because it's an important conversation we're having, even if it's fun and all of that. We just came back from COP, not me, our correspondent. But the world gathered in Azerbaijan to talk about this issue of climate change and all of the emission issues. So what you're doing is important to us and the world. In the learning, in teaching young people, have you been able to, how successful have you been? Are you doing that already?
Yes.
How long does it take for them to learn this thing? And how passionate are they about what you do?
So in terms of learning, I actually kickstarted a school last year for teaching rug making and tufting, which is a new modern process of learning how to make rugs. So it's very nouveau, and it's a lot of me having to now teach them the technical know-how. It was hectic in the beginning, but I will say I'm still not where I want to be. Currently, I only have maximum capacity of 3 students at a time. And you're thinking about the cost of also the machinery and equipment we're using to teach them. How long is the class going to take? How long is it going to take for them to actually learn? So I'm doing my own bit at a small scale, but do I wish that we could do this on a larger scale? Do I wish that we could have a bigger conversation about it? Absolutely. But I think it takes you putting your own foot forward first, and then seeing how others can also contribute and collaborate.
Speaking of where you want to be in a short while from now, how expansive is that space in your mental disposition? And what are the things, the elements that you think that government can support with in terms of helping to expand the space for entrepreneurs like you? And while you're speaking to that, perhaps you may also want to tell them what they're missing, in terms of buying what is made in Nigeria.
So in terms of like where we're at or where we want to be, the vision is to obviously have a household name. The vision is to have a platform that has homeware. I'm talking scaling from furniture to even plates, to even cutlery, to even carpets, just everything as a whole. You know, you see brands like IKEA who have the whole fort. Why can't we also push the narrative and also get to that point? In terms of what the government can do, I think there's a lot they can do in terms of like having opportunities available for entrepreneurs to liaise. Are there associations we can join? Are there conversations we can have? Because I'm just one person, but I know that a collective voice will always be stronger at the end of the day. I alone cannot speak to the government. So how can we build those associations? How can we form that collective voice and get our needs met? That's the real conversation. I'm
curious about how you, your life journey, your origin story. You're not a billionaire, you're a superhero, right? As I'm curious, in terms of education and support, because most people, you studied law, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
So I'm not sure what family thinks about this. You could be in court helping us with election cases and bringing in billions. So how did you approach this? How did you get funding as well? Because I see your events and I'm like, I try to do a costing in my head. I'll tell you how much it is. So is it that you have backing? You have a hedge fund that is supporting you?
Surprisingly, so I actually studied law in the United Kingdom, funny enough. And I think that is where the conversation started, from me wanting to come home. I wanted to come home. I wanted to be home.
That's
exactly. I wanted to reverse my jaqua, and I really wanted to find a way to find my footing here without having to feel like I have to depend on that experience. And so towards the end of my journey, like into law, I started realizing, okay, there's something more I want to do. There's a bigger conversation that I want to have. I want to go home. I want to create something. I want to make an impact. It's not just about me making my pounds over there or, you know, doing what I'm doing over there. So me coming back home, having to think about something more innovative, that's what sparked that. In terms of funding, everything is completely bootstrapped. In fact, the carpet making was what funded the furniture. So we've been doing that for 3 years now, right? We've made almost 200 rugs, and this is locally made, and we're just a team of 2. Myself and someone
Two
else.
people?
Yes. So I physically make the rugs myself. So me and someone
else. So you get your hands dirty.
So I have an interesting question, and this is for the experience, the Jackpot experience. For those who would not touch Nigeria again with a 10-foot pole, what would you say to them?
Maybe they would do it with 5'4". Just
honestly, first of all, I would say heal. You know, they have to heal from whatever it is they feel like Nigeria may have taken away from them. They have to remove that resentment first before they even see it as a viable platform in the first place. I moved on from whatever Nigeria did to me, and I'm like, okay, I'm still in Nigeria at the end of the day. How can I grow my love for this country regardless?
Was it Nigeria that did it to them, or let's say maybe an agency or a person or a group of people? Is it fair to always lump it on?
Well, Nigeria is Nigerians. Let's just put it like that. Nigeria is the people. So if someone has an experience from a Nigerian or from other Nigerians that affects, it is a Nigerian experience.
It's not fair, right?
I mean, in a way, it kind of is. I would not lie. It's valid.
It's called the Nigerian factor. But in closing, I can see that already, but I need you to do a bit of an explainer how your legal practice or your knowledge of the law has helped you in your business.
Right.
Because I know that your things are not cheap, so
no, they're affordable. They're the will of God for some people.
The will of God for some people. Yes. But in terms of my legal practice, in fact, I can't stress how blessed I am to have done that. Most times when you're in the creative space, people think it's all flowery rainbows, but there's a lot of contract signing, there's a lot of deals, there's a lot of agreements. And initially when I started, before I even had my own personal lawyer, I was the one doing the contract reading, and they don't know this. So when you're dealing with other creative industries, they don't know that I'm aware of it. So when I read a contract, I'm seeing some funny things, I'm like, no, this isn't how it's supposed to be, and then I can easily just vet that. So I think everyone should have that legal assist.
I asked that question because I wanted to be clear for you to communicate that education is not scam.
No, absolutely not. I root for education always.
I have to ask, what are you working on right now? I don't know how you do it. So do you get your hands dirty?
Yes,
right?
I do.
So you're leaving the show?
Yes.
So what are you working on right now?
So right now, I mean, I've done a couple of exhibitions this year already. I'm closed for the year. Right now, I'm not working anything. I'm resting.
Somebody has made money.
So that means you're cashed out now.
No, but rest is needed regardless.
Only somebody that has cashed out can rest too. So you need to see your bank account.
No, it's not, no.
No, we're reforming the tax law. So maybe you're part of those who will capture, you know. Anyway. Omolade Ogundimo, CEO, Mostudeo, right?
Yes.
I want to be sure I pronounce it correctly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
And thank you for helping the environment.
Thank you so much.
And I'm sure it's the will of God.
Amen to that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you another leg of the conversation. It's just getting interesting. Join us again.